That's not. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathamritam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lita Shri Ushakhamritamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminate Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Kuchavane Nirvishesha Shunyadi Pashatya Deshatare. I have been requested to speak about the cardinal or principal teachings of Valmiki Ramayan. Prabhupada has spoken about the importance of Valmiki Ramayan in various places. Here, 9th canto, 10th chapter, text number 3. Tasyanu charitam rajan rishibhis tatvadarshibhihi shrutam hi varnitam bhuri tvayasi tapater moho. Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. O King Parikshit, the transcendental activities of Lord Ramachandra have been described by great saintly persons who have seen the truth. Because you have heard again and again about Lord Ramachandra, the husband of Mother Sita, I shall describe these activities only in brief. Please listen. Purport. Modern Rakshasas. Huh? Try out with this, see what happens. What? Nothing. No, that was wrong. Not here. It's not here. Now what happened? I think it's a zoom. Where? This one? In Mayapur Institute and other places, we just have a projector. It's big. For me, this is just too small. Modern Rakshasas posing as educationally advanced merely because they have doctorates have tried to prove that Lord Ramachandra is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead but an ordinary person. But those who are learned and spiritually advanced will never accept such notions. They will accept the descriptions of Lord Ramachandra and his activities only as presented by Tattvadarshis, those who know the absolute truth. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead advises तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ते te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Unless one is tattvadarshi, in complete knowledge of the absolute truth, one cannot describe the activities of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, although there are many so-called Ramayanas or histories of Lord Ramachandra's activities, some of them are not actually authoritative. Sometimes Lord Ramachandra's activities are described in terms of their own imaginations, speculations, or material sentiments. But the characteristics of Lord Ramachandra should not be handled as something imaginary. While describing the history of Lord Ramachandra, Shukadeva Goswami told Maharaj Parikshit, "You have already heard about the activities of Lord Ramachandra. Apparently, therefore, 5,000 years ago, there were many Ramayanas or histories of Lord Ramachandra's activities, and there are many still. But we must select only those books written by Tattvadarshis, Jnaninas, Tattvadarshinaha, not the books of so-called scholars who claim knowledge only on the basis of a doctorate. This is a warning by Shukadeva Goswami. Rishibhis Tattvadarshibhi. Although the Ramayana composed by Valmiki is a huge literature, the same activities are summarized here by Shukadeva Goswami in a few verses. Guru Arthe Dyaktarajyo Vyacharadanuvanam Padmapabhyam Priyayah Panisparsha Kshamabhyam Rijitapathirujo Yo Harindranujabhyam Vairupyachurpanakyah Priya Viraha Rusharopita Bhru Vijrimbhita Trastabdhir Badhasetu Khaladavadahana Kosalendro Vatanna. This is a one verse summary of the entire Ramayana. To keep the promise of his father intact, Lord Ramachandra immediately gave up the position of king and, accompanied by his wife Mother Sita, wandered from one forest to another on his lotus feet, which were so delicate that they were unable to bear even the touch of Sita's palms. The Lord was also accompanied by Hanuman, or by another monkey, Sugriva, king of the monkeys, and by his own younger brother, Lord Lakshmana, both of whom gave him relief from the fatigue of wandering in the forest. Having cut off the nose and ears of Shurpanakha, thus disfiguring her, the Lord was separated from Mother Sita. He therefore became angry, moving his eyebrows and thus frightening the ocean, who then allowed the Lord to construct a bridge to cross the ocean. Subsequently, the Lord entered the kingdom of Ravana to kill him like a fire devouring a forest. May that Supreme Lord Ramachandra give us all protection. And then Shukadeva Goswami continues. He slightly expands this into two chapters. 9th canto, 10th chapter, and 11th chapter. Prabhupada also wanted a detailed edition of Valmiki Ramayana. He wanted it. Actually, in 1976 itself, he was pushing someone to do it. But somehow it did not happen. And Prabhupada specified how it should be done. It should be done with proper verses in Sanskrit. And he said, just like in Bhagavatam, how Prabhupada does it. He put the Devanagari, Roman transliteration, word for word meanings, translation. And you summarize the standard explanation coming from the Vaishnava Parampara. Valmiki Ramayana has a complete commentary by one Govindaraja of the Ramanuja Sampradaya. In the Madhva Sampradaya, they have a summary of Valmiki Ramayana. Fragments of a commentary to the original Valmiki Ramayana are also available. So I'm working out an edition of Valmiki Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana has 7 cantos. Each canto is called a Kanda. So the first canto is called Balakanda, describes Lord Ramachandra's childhood. In the edition that I'm working out, it has come to 3 volumes. The second canto, Ayodhya Kanda, dealing with Ayodhya, that came out to 5 volumes. Then the next canto is called Aranya Kanda, about the Lord's pastimes in the forest of Dandakaranya. That came out in 3 volumes. Sorry. Right now I'm trying to complete the fourth canto, Kishkindha, the Lord's pastimes in Kishkindha, which will come out in 3 volumes. Fifth canto is called Sundarakanda, which describes uh, the beautiful surrender of Hanuman. Sundarakanda only covers 1.5 days, but it'll probably go to, I think it'll reach 2 or 3 volumes. It'll come to 3 volumes. Then Yuddhakanda is the sixth canto, the war. That will likely come to 5 volumes. And then Uttarakanda, the seventh canto, the final portion, which describes the supremacy of Lord Ramachandra. He's a supreme personality of God. That's very explicitly brought up. That will come out in probably 3 or 4 volumes. So totally it'll come to some 22 volumes. This is published by Rupa Raghunath Publications, a publishing house Jayapatak Maharaj wanted for the benefit of the entire ISKCON. So we have a policy that the digital, we have, so far we have published a few books. Namashtaka of Rupa Goswami with Baladev Vidyabhushan's explanation. And one essay by Bhaktivinoda on the process of chanting. Called, that essay was, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur liked that essay. Sri Harinam, that's the title of it. And an excerpt from one essay written by Bhaktivinoda called Vaishnav Ninda on Vaishnava Aparadh, that also we printed. Our policy is we sell physical copies, digital copies we put it out for free. Anyone can just read it. So for Valmiki Ramayan, we are creating a website where the entire content is available. Those who want can access it and study it, or otherwise they can purchase a copy. So now there is a portion within the commentary where the teachings of Valmiki Ramayana have been analyzed in great detail. In the Ramanuja line, they say that Ramanujacharya had learned, had studied Valmiki Ramayana from one of his teachers and extracted 18 lessons, 18 cardinal teachings of Valmiki Ramayana. Now, this actually occurs somewhere in the middle of the first canto, as an introduction to the fifth chapter of the first canto. But I brought it out right ahead because that will orient us properly. I won't have time to read this fully and explain it. There's no time for it. It is how many pages is it? It is 45 pages actually. But at least I can give a basic overview about it, so you get an idea about how Valmiki Ramayana is understood in the parampara. It is one thing that it's just a story, just watch some TV serial, movie, read some novel summarizing it. That's something. But then, the way they analyze it, they go into details. They go into great details. So many small details are there. First of all, Valmiki Ramayana is written in the format of a kavya. There are different types of literature. The Vedic literature. The 4 Vedas, for instance, they are known as Shruti. And they give instructions very directly on matters of behavior and so on. And they communicate quite directly. This is how it is, they will say. Satyam vada, speak the truth. Dharmam chara, carry out dharma. Acharya devo bhava, accept the Acharya as a representative of the Supreme Lord. Straightforward. So they talk like a master talks to his servant, or a teacher talks the way a teacher talks to a student. Prabhu Sammita, that is the technical expression. Then there are some other, another set of Vedic literature, the Puranas. The Puranas don't talk directly. The Puranas don't talk like a master. The Puranas talk like a friend. Now we all know, we all have friends. You really can't boss over a friend. You can't say, look, this is how it is and you must do it. He'll say, get lost. No? It's not how you talk with a friend. With a friend, you have to talk more rationally. You have to give, see, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. See, that one did that and it happened. This one did that and it happened. You have to give various instances and then you can derive some logical conclusion on that basis. So the Puranas are like that. They give a lot of historical instances and then they suggest, see, he did this, he opposed Lord Vishnu, he got into this trouble. This person, he surrendered to Lord Vishnu, he got this benefit. So it'll be nice. That's all. You know, Suhrit Samhita, like a well-wisher. Then there is another category of Vedic literature which are kavya, which are written in the form of poetry. Poetry not in the, just in the sense that they are verses. Even the Puranas are written in verses. That's not what it is. But a kavya talks indirectly. Like in Vedic culture, women would not command or even talk like a friend to their husbands. Just like even in today's world, sometimes it happens. A married couple, she just once, just occasionally, she may just tell her husband, I went to my friend's house. They had a very nice fridge. And it was very useful for the children. And, you know, my friend, she could even make her mother-in-law very happy. Full stop. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else. No lesson to learn, no nothing. No request, no instruction, nothing. And then after 3 months, no, I just was going by and I saw a fridge shop. And you know, they said certain things. Usually in advertisement they say false things, but this advertisement was saying true things. End of discussion. That's all. Then again, after another 5 months, you know, some other time, you know, just see that fridge looks nice, no? That's all. That's all. So that happens even in today's world. So this is just suggested. Dhwani, it is called. Hint, suggestion. So Valmiki Ramayana, on the order of Lord Brahma, was presented by Valmiki as a detailed description of certain important pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. Lord Ramachandra was manifest for 11,000 years. But just as when Lord Krishna appears to this world, Srimad Bhagavatam also appears because he comes with a message. Similarly, every time Lord Ramachandra comes, Valmiki Ramayana is also there. A particular soul is made Valmiki. And it is just part of the mission. So then Lord Brahma had instructed him to present the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra in the form of a kavya. So everything is all, it's everywhere. It's like salt is dissolved in the water and you can't really get it. So like that, the cardinal teachings, the primary teachings of Ramayana, they're hinted all throughout. They're suggested all throughout Valmiki Ramayana. But the advantage of going through a parampara system is that they extricate all of this and give it to us so that we can have an understanding of what is going on. The first 4 chapters of this canto establishes the 3 extraordinary features of this literature in order to be respectfully accepted by great souls. There are 3 extraordinary features of Valmiki Ramayana. The author was extraordinary. The way he composed it was extraordinary. And the work itself was extraordinary. I'm not going to describe them. You'll have to read it through. Only then you'll understand. So for that purpose, he dedicates the first 4 chapters of Valmiki Ramayana. Uh, Valmiki was a Trikalagya. He was able to see past, present, future. So uh, he was able to describe the glories of Valmiki Ramayana itself even before starting Valmiki Ramayana, because he's able to see the future also. He's able to see that he has completed it and that it has these benefits. Uh, why did he glorify himself? By pointing out that the author is extraordinary, because otherwise intelligent people would not study Valmiki Ramayana. In Vedic civilization, it is barbaric to glorify yourself. Today's world is a very tamasic world, so it's the exact opposite of it. But in Vedic civilization, it is just only a barbarian who would glorify himself. No intelligent person would do that, because we are duty bound to do good to others. We are not duty bound to receive service from others. So these are all very essential ideas. I'll come back to some of them later on. Okay, so the first lesson, Ramayana, it elucidates the Shruti, the Vedas. The Vedic scriptures have 2 different portions. One portion is on how you can attain pious credits, which will provide extraordinary sense enjoyment and wealth. So normally we can attain wealth through some hard work or whatever, and sense enjoyment is available, not really difficult. But when you acquire pious credits, punya, as it is said, when you perform certain activities which are prescribed in the Vedic scriptures, which is actually a reflection of what God wants the conditioned souls to do, then you get some kind of subtle plus points, let us say, or you get some subtle currency, subtle money, which is attached to your subtle body. That will yield extraordinary sense enjoyment, extraordinary karma, and extraordinary artha, the sort which you cannot get otherwise. And that, a little bit of that benefit you will get in this life itself, and the vast majority you'll get later, next life, many lives. It depends, if you have done, for instance, if you have given in charity a lot to appropriate recipients, that's also specified in the scriptures, then you become very rich, very rich. There are some people who have done so much of pious activity through charity that such souls will be just born in trillionaire families for 10 lifetimes. So basically they don't need to do anything to work. They go to college just for either showing off, or it's just one of the rituals of today's world. So that's all. But they actually don't need. They have enough money for 5 generations. It's just, they have so much money. They have so much money. So this is all because they have given. You only get what you give. Nadatam diyate. What you only get what you have given. You give, therefore you get. So this is all through pious credits. So this is one portion, one layer of Vedic teachings. This is actually the inferior portion of Vedic teachings. Then there's a superior portion of Vedic teachings, which tells you that that's true. You can have very optimal material happiness by programming your life, by ensuring that you don't engage in sinful activities. Somehow you become self-controlled. You don't start following the mass, whatever the people are doing. You get back because you understand how the laws of nature work, the laws of karma, and you engage in pious activities, avoid sinful activities. So you have a good time 10x, 20x, again, different varieties. Either as human beings, if you do really pious activities, then you get celestial bodies, the heavenly worlds, and you can enjoy even more. You get more facilities, even more. But the superior teaching is that of Vedanta Darshan. These scriptures, they say no, you have to ultimately get out of the cycle of birth and rebirth itself. Because whatever you do, even if you say 10 lifetimes, there are still the miseries of death, birth, disease, and old age. This you cannot avoid. So, if you want absolute freedom from all material distress, you have to aim for liberation, and for that, you have to get trained. You need to um, serve Lord Vishnu, who is one supreme final authority. Plus, you need to develop spiritual realization of the reality that you're a spirit soul, different from your subtle body, gross body. You're reincarnating according to past karma. All of that you should become capable of seeing. Right now, we cannot see. We just talk about it. We're like blind people. Blind people inside a home. They may be living in a home for 20 years, 30 years. They know everything about that home. They know what is kept where, everything. But they don't know the way people with vision know. So we may know so many things about liberation, this, that, but we are actually blind people who know. We have theoretical knowledge. But when you have realized knowledge, the soul will be able to see. It will be able to see. So the spiritual eyesight will be activated. So in that Vedanta portion, it focuses on the relationship between the soul and God and talks about the nature of Lord Vishnu, about the Supreme Being. The Supreme Being is referred to in the Upanishads as Brahman. Brahman also sometimes refers to the effulgence of that Supreme Being. But sometimes Brahman refers to the Supreme Being himself. Even in, like Arjuna addresses Lord Krishna, Param Brahma Param Dhama, talking to Krishna, who is Bhagavan, but he's referring to him as Brahman. So sometimes Brahman directly refers to Bhagavan. So in Vedanta philosophy, all of this comes out. And it stresses this point. You're suffering, you're suffering, you're suffering, you're suffering, you're suffering. Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. You don't deserve this. You deserve something better. So this is for those who are mature souls. There are some souls who have developed this maturity over lifetimes. So since their childhood, they're already inclined towards this. So no matter how much you preach to them to be complete, blind, materialistic, they will not accept it. They'll always feel something is wrong. And when something goes wrong, mother dies or some friend dies in an accident, that will become the springboard for them to jump into full-fledged spirituality. Whereas, bona fide materialists will not think like that. He'll just think, okay, that's, like, occasionally the cook doesn't cook well, but, otherwise life is good. They'll just go on like that. But he's not like that. So that's because he's developed it over several lifetimes. In Valmiki Ramayana, the discussion about the nature of that Supreme Being comes about. Who is that Supreme Being? There are so many worshipable deities that come up for discussion in Vedic scriptures. Which amongst them is the Supreme Being? Is that Vishnu? Or is that Brahma, Rudra, or all of these? So Ramayana points out, it is Lord Vishnu who is the Supreme Being. Of course, Lord Vishnu has descended in the form of Ram. Vishnu means Vishnu Tattva, what we commonly refer to as Vishnu Tattva. All the different expansions of Krishna, all of them are referred to as Vishnu Tattva, the infinite, absolute, supreme personality of Godhead. So right now, while Valmiki was writing, it was a contemporary of Lord Ram. So Lord Vishnu is right here. He is the one Supreme Being. That is brought out in Valmiki Ramayana. Now, in Vedic scriptures, they first of all communicate in a very rational manner. So, if you need to understand the meaning of a passage in Vedic scriptures, there are certain signs, chinnas, with which you can understand. You can examine the beginning, the conclusion, what is repeated, what is what is presented in a very unprecedented manner, what is stated to be the result of properly understanding that passage. You can watch out for things which are appreciated, praised, glorified, and you can also examine any logical reasons that are presented to come to certain conclusions. If you consider the entire Valmiki Ramayana as a very elaborate 24,000 verse passage, then within that also you can examine this. So to ascertain the identity of the Supreme Brahman, the same method can be analyzed. Ramayan begins with Valmiki's questions to Narada. It begins by asking questions about who possesses this good quality, and gives a whole series of qualities. Who is very kind, who is very strong, who can protect everyone, who can do this, who can do this, who can do this, who can do that. So many questions. And then Narada Muni says, there is one person. He has appeared in the dynasty of Ikshvaku. He's a son of Dasharatha. He's Ram. So now there's a lot of analysis on what's the meaning of this question and answer. Because Valmiki himself was a devotee of Ram. He himself chanted the name of Ram and became Valmiki. He was previously some hunter. And he had received the name of Ram. In fact, he was so perverted that even Rama, he could not chant. So he was told to chant Mara. Mara, 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 Mara. And that way it became Ramna. And he chanted for thousands of years. And finally, Lord Brahma himself came and blessed him. Okay. He had already meditated on Ram, and he had already met Ram when Ram was in exile at Chitrakoot. Valmiki had already met Ram also. He knew all these things. Everyone knows Narada Muni is a pure devotee of Lord Vishnu also. You go to Narada Muni and ask a series of questions like this, everybody knows what he's going to answer. So why is he asking these questions? So then this pointed out what all these questions that he asked, each of them have a specific meaning, significance behind it. Because he asked who is fully powerful. Now, different symptoms of that supreme being in the Upanishads have been presented in different texts. So there it says the supreme being is fully powerful. The supreme being is very kind. The supreme being is a protector of those who have surrendered. So Valmiki, what he is doing is, he has in his mind all those Upanishad descriptions of the Supreme Brahman. And he is asking questions pertaining to all of this. So who is the one who has this? Basically, who has all the features of Supreme Brahman? And I want to know who has all those features right now. Because the Supreme Brahman is Lord Vishnu, Vishnu Tattva, and Krishna repeatedly incarnates. Comes as Narsimha, comes as Ram, later he comes as Krishna himself, comes so many places. But at that time, in this world, which form of the Supreme Being is manifest and accessible? That is the background to it. And the questions are very open-ended, but the answers are very pointed and closed. Narada Muni could have said anything. He could have said, actually, he could have spoken Hinduism, actually. He could have said, everyone's one. He could have said this kind of thing. He didn't. Specifies. It's Lord Ram. This personality. So the question was very open, but at the same time, the answer was very clear. It is Lord Vishnu who possesses all the attributes of the Supreme Brahman. Towards the conclusion, towards the end of Ramayana, there, Lord Shiva tells Ram, in a former birth, I was your son. The powerful grandfather, Lord and Master of the worlds, Brahma, has given a message to give to you. And this is the message. In the past, you yourself wound up the worlds of the animate and inanimate through your varied potency of Maya. While lying on the waters of great Garbhodaka ocean, you gave birth to me. You gave birth to me from your divine lotus navel that was as brilliant as the sun, and gave me the entire responsibility of the creation of the creatures. Through statements such as the above, it is admitted that Lord Vishnu alone is the Supreme Brahman, the cause of all the worlds, since he has been stated to be the cause of all the worlds and the generator of the creator of the creatures. And it is also clear that Lord Shiva is admitting that he is dependent on Lord Vishnu. So at the beginning of Valmiki Ramayana, at the end of Valmiki Ramayana, two places. Repetition. That Lord Vishnu alone possesses the features of the Supreme Brahman as described in the Upanishads is repeated throughout the Ramayana. Then he goes canto by canto to give evidence. Balakanda, canto 1. Lord Brahma, he approaches Lord Vishnu. And it is mentioned that Lord Vishnu is the cause of the universe. The demigods, they surrender to Lord Vishnu. This is at the time when Dasharatha is performing his sacrifice uh, for a son. Simultaneously, Valmiki, some other events happen, and Valmiki turns his attention. The demigods they approach along with Lord Brahma. They pray to Lord Vishnu. So at that time, certain verses appear there. So the demigods, they pray to Lord Vishnu at that time, acknowledging him to be the supreme being, whose uncommon quality is that he is object of surrender for all. So they offer prayers unto him and they request him, you please help us. Then later on, Ram is born, Ram, Lakshman, Bharata, Shatrughna, all four are Vishnu Tattvas. They're born and then they grow up. Valmiki deals with their childhood just in some 5 or 10 verses, that's all. And then we come across Vishwamitra. Dasharatha is in court. Vishwamitra arrives, and Vishwamitra tells Dasharatha that see, I am performing sacrifices, and at that time that was the Yuga Dharma in Treta Yuga, and some these demons are coming and disturbing. So I want your son. So then Dasharatha just faints. At that time, Vishwamitra, he says, Aham vedmi mahatmanam ramam satya parakramam vasishtopi mahateja ye che me tapasisthita. I am aware that Ram is the supreme soul and that his prowess is true. Even Vasishtha of great prowess and all those here situated in austerities also know this. Now from the various Upanishads and other scriptures which describe liberation, it is pointed out that you can understand the nature of the Supreme Being and identify when he has descended to this world only if you have performed austerities. Ordinary sense enjoyers, even restricted sense enjoyers cannot understand. Only those who perform austerities. So that Vishwamitra, he notes. During Sita's wedding, Vasishtha reveals that Lord Vishnu is the original cause of all. Then Parashuram, after Ramachandra, he wins Sita Devi. That itself happened after he broke the Haradhanu, Shiva's bow. So then Parshuram comes with the Vishnu Dhanu, Vishnu's bow. So there's a discussion there between Parshuram and Ram. So at that time, Parshuram also, he points out that Vishnu is the supreme amongst the worshipable deities. His logic is, okay, you've broken Shiva's bow, but Vishnu is superior to Shiva. And then he gives a historical incident and he very logically describes why that is so. Canto 2, there also, Lord Vishnu is directly described as being eternal. He's also identified as the original source of all generations, the source of Brahma himself. Canto 3, Maricha tells Ravan that Ram's prowess has no bounds. Canto 4, Tara, wife of Vali, she says, because she has already heard from Angada, who heard from some spies that this Ram, son of Dasharatha, he has come to help Sugriva, and that Sugriva might come to re-attack Vali, which is what happened. So when Sugriva challenges Vali, so Vali is a very impetuous person. As soon as a challenge, rascal, how dare you? I'll go and kill him, that's all. Immediately jumps forward. At that time, Tara stops him. She says, no, I heard that he's around. Ram is himself, he's there. And then after Vali is shot, then Tara herself tells Ram that you're the unfathomable, unassailable, sense-controlled, supremely dharmic, filled with inexhaustible fame, expert, forgiving like the earth, and with eyes red in the corners. That eyes red in the corners, that refers to one feature of Lord Vishnu known as, that is referred to by the name Pundarikaksha, lotus eye. Lotus eye refers to Lord Vishnu. So she's also acknowledging that. Canto 5, Sundarakanda. There, Hanuman directly tells that Lord Ram is the destroyer of all. He's basically saying that you don't know with whom you're quarreling. He told Ravana that you're dealing with Ram, but Lord Ram, he is the master of Brahma, Shiva, and everyone else. And after he made such a big mess in Lanka and returned, so at that time they thought, what is this? Who's this monkey? Is this monkey the personification of Vishnu's potency? Because only Vishnu's potency can destroy everyone and everything. Then in Yuddha Kanda also, Lord Vishnu is stated as the ultimate cause of the universes in various ways. Mandodari herself tells Ram, after her husband dies, she says, I knew this will happen. I knew this will happen. That you are the supreme being, and I told him not to fight with you, but still he went ahead. So he has created his own death. Then Lord Brahma tells Ramachandra. In that way, there is evidence everywhere. The seventh canto, the commentator Sri Govindaraj, he does not present evidence for this because it's everywhere. You open seventh canto, everywhere it says that Ram is Vishnu and Vishnu is a supreme being. It comes everywhere. Novelty indicates an understanding that can come from no other source of valid knowledge. Indeed, the fact that the supreme truth is Lord Vishnu cannot be understood from any other source of valid knowledge. Result. The result of surrendering unto Lord Ram is attainment of his abode and so on. This is very explicit at the end of the Ramayana. At the end of the Ramayana, all those residents of Ayodhya and Sugriva and some others who were surrendered to Lord Ram, all of them attain Vaikuntha. They go dip into Sarayu, and in their spiritual bodies they all go. All. It is described that all of them attain liberation from the cycle of birth and rebirth, and they were placed in Vaikuntha to serve the Supreme Lord. Praise and logical reason. This comes in chapter 75 of the first canto. I'm not going to go into this in detail, but there is some logical reasoning that is concluded there. So it is not just some glorification, there's some logic there. Logic means, first of all, I'll tell you what is not logic. The sky is blue, the parrot is green, therefore Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. This is not logic. No. Logic means the Vedic scriptures give information about the Supreme Being. In the Vedic scriptures, Krishna has been logically concluded to be the Supreme Being. Therefore, the Vedic scriptures say that Lord Krishna is a Supreme Being. So this is called logic. So logically, it is concluded that Lord Vishnu is the supreme being in that particular chapter. And there are some other places also, where it is very rationally presented. Mm. Thus, it is clear that Sri Ramayana elucidates the teaching of the Upanishads, also known as the Vedanta, that the supreme truth, who can be known, understood, and realized through the Vedanta in accordance with the six signs. Six signs are this: beginning, end, repetition, what is unprecedented, praise, and so on. Six signs. Shadlinga, it is called. Tatparya Linga, Shad Tatparya Linga. In accordance with the six signs used to determine the overall meaning of Shastra, is Lord Vishnu, not Brahma, Shiva, and so on. This is also stated by Brahma towards the end of the Ramayana. Listen to what I say in the midst of this assembly. This is the best of all poems that have been heard by me, O Ram. The entirety of this poem will be elaborately made known by Valmiki and his followers. This original poem is entirely based on your activities, O Ram. Other than you, Raghava, no one else deserves to be famous in poems as a hero. So that is all the first lesson. The second lesson. Now, how can you attain that supreme being? For that, Valmiki describes the process of surrender unto Lord Ram. The entire Ramayana is a detailed and elaborate description of surrender. Whom to surrender unto, how to surrender, whom not to surrender unto, why not, and so on. It's just a very long, elaborate description of different aspects of the process of surrender. The process of surrender is already brought out in the Vedic scriptures. Like, for instance, this is Shvetashvatara Upanishad, that itself talks about surrender unto the Supreme Being. There are 6 items in the process of surrender: to do whatever is pleasing to the object of surrender, to avoid whatever is displeasing to the object of surrender, to have great faith that the object of surrender will protect the surrendered soul, which means to have great faith that the object of surrender will grant the result desired by the surrendered soul and protect the surrendered soul from all obstacles to the fulfillment, attainment of that desired result. To beseech or pray to the object of surrender to protect him. It is also important. It's not enough. In surrender, you also have to officially or and unofficially beg and request that person to submit oneself completely. That is, to give up the consideration of submitting unto anyone else and to submit oneself helplessly. That is, to give up all other endeavors in this regard. I go to a doctor, and the doctor, I'm very, very sick, really sick. I go to the doctor, but then I think that I know as good as a doctor. So the doctor says something, and says, "It's all right, it's all right. Fine. I'll take these medicines. I also know what to do." That is not helpless. Helpless means you say, "Shishyaste ham shadi mam tvam prapannam." I don't know. You tell what should be done. So helpless surrender is one aspect. Exclusive surrender is another aspect. Exclusive surrender means you don't go to someone else. You go to this doctor, you don't go to another doctor. That's called surrender. So when you surrender unto the Supreme Lord, this is how you should surrender. So in Valmiki Ramayana, this is suggested throughout Valmiki Ramayana. At the beginning, Valmiki describes Lord Vishnu as always being eager to protect those who are surrendered unto him. So this will come out when there's a description of the demigods surrendering unto Lord Vishnu. It is pointed out that Lord Vishnu is very happy. He's not unhappy. My God, now another headache has come. He doesn't ever think like that. He's waiting for everyone to surrender unto him. Just as a mother is always happy with the child. Any child wants to come, immediately the mother says, "Oh, I'm so happy you're asking something." Even mothers in their old age, pious mothers, He's very, very happy when the son gives him a call for no reason actually. He's very happy. So uh, Lord Vishnu is very happy and kind. He's very much a pro surrender. So that evidence you'll find in various places in Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, here is something very interesting. There was a person named Trishanku, and there was one Shunashepa. Both of them surrendered unto Vishwamitra when they got into a certain type of trouble, different types of trouble actually. And Vishwamitra actually protected them. Why does he describe these two incidents? He does this to point out that the highest duty is to award protection to a surrendered soul. And that if one surrenders unto a person who is fully capable of awarding the desired protection and who is compassionate upon the surrendered soul, such surrender will invariably lead to the desired success. There are 6 items of surrender, but you need to find an object of surrender who is competent and compassionate. If he's not competent, what is the use? He'll say, I tried my best. That's all. And if he's not compassionate, then he's not going to come forward to help you out. Yeah, I can solve the problem, but I don't feel like. So he has to be samartha and karunika. So in Valmiki Ramayana, Valmiki points out that Lord Ramachandra, he is competent and he is compassionate. So when you surrender unto him for any purpose, whatever, then he's going to help you out. That message is given. Sri Valmiki also points out that while surrendering unto the Supreme Lord, one must first submit to his consort, who mediates between the surrendered soul and the Lord. She has to become your advocate. If you simply say, what? You're a criminal. You turned away from the service to the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world and you came here. So you're a criminal. All criminals who are pleading for release require a witness statement. Somebody who witnesses saying he has behaved very well in the jail. A good fellow. Previously he was something else. Now he's good. He'll be a worthy contribution to society. And that person who's giving the statement himself should be someone, somebody, some respected person who does not have a black history. Then the government or whoever, they will accept it. So Lakshmi has to tell Lord Narayan. That's why when we also chant Hare Krishna mantra, half of it is Radharani's name. That is very intentional, because without her sending an email, you won't get it. She has to tell the Lord, please, help him out. Chota bacha, it's okay, come on. Then only the Lord will accept. So that happens throughout. We notice it in all of the Vishnu Tattva incarnations. You'll find that. So in Valmiki Ramayana also we'll see that surrender involves a certain process. Okay, here is, and there are several instances of surrender. Lakshmana surrenders, Bharata surrenders. At Dandakaranya, the residents of the forest, they surrender. And they say that you should protect us. You should take care of us. Those who are surrendered unto the Supreme Lord, they are taken care of just as a pious mother takes care of a child in her womb. In Vedic civilization, women, first of all, it's all anti-abortion environment. They're not going to, there's no question of abortion, all these things. Okay. They very much protect the child. And on top of it, they even eat certain foodstuffs which will not harm the child in the womb. There are so many things. To some extent, some traces of this we may find in the rural parts of India, where the pregnant ladies, they take care of the child. But it is described in Ramayana that when you surrender unto the Supreme Lord, he protects like this. To this extent, he will protect. So there are other instances. There is an instance when Indra's son once He assumed the form of a crow and he offended Sita Devi. So at that time, Lord Ramachandra, he disciplined him. But then when he offered obeisances to Lord Ram, saying, I'm sorry, Lord Ram immediately forgave him. Sugriva surrenders um, everywhere. And when you surrender, you have to surrender with a favorable disposition, not like, I'm just forced out of circumstance, therefore I'm surrendering unto you. Not like that. You need to have a permanent attitude of being favorably disposed towards him. Um, when you surrender, you have to abandon the association of all those who oppose such surrender. Vibhishana's surrender. In fact, in the Ramanuja line, they point out the climax of Valmiki Ramayana is not Ramachandra killing Ravana. The climax of Valmiki Ramayana is Vibhishana's surrender to Lord Ram. The whole Valmiki Ramayana is centered around the principle of Sharanagati. And when Vibhishana surrendered, that is the most explicit description Valmiki gives of different features of surrender. So if you have studied the Pancharatrika scriptures where Sharanagati unto the Supreme Lord is described in great detail, you can just see it. This verse, this verse, this verse, this verse, this verse. So they've done this analysis. And they point out that when Vibhishana surrendered, there are various aspects from which we can learn how to surrender unto the Supreme Lord. So when Vibhishana surrendered, one of the things he did was he rejected his family fully because they opposed surrender. One may oppose surrender, one may be neutral, or one may also surrender. So there were a few who surrendered to Lord Ram along with Vibhishana. But those who opposed, he just left them. He left them. There is one interesting description of whom you should not surrender unto. Lord Ramachandra, he surrendered unto Varuna, the presiding deity of the ocean, so that the ocean can give a way. But the ocean actually is not capable of giving that way because he cannot break the laws of nature. So even though Lord Ramachandra went through the external process of surrendering unto the presiding deity of the ocean for 3 days, nothing actually happened. And then Lord Ram takes his bow, and then finally the ocean comes up and says, what? You made these rules, I can't break these rules. What am I supposed to do? So then Lord Ram, he releases the arrow and it's used for a particular purpose. So why that incident even took place? That is just to show, don't waste your time. You need to surrender, that's fine. You may come across situations where you may need to surrender to a superior being. Human beings are recommended in Vedic scriptures for human beings who are too much materially obsessed. They're recommended to surrender unto demigods for particular purposes. Kamaiste ritagyana prapadyante anyadevata. Prapadyante means they surrender. You can't just, demigod worship actually means demigod surrender. If you don't surrender unto Ganapati, you're not going to become rich. 6 items, same thing comes, 6 items. 6 items is 6 items, standard process of surrender. If you don't surrender unto Parvati, you don't get a good wife. So in that way, the Vedic scriptures recommend these kinds of surrender. But as Lord Ramchandra himself points out, he demonstrates through that activity, surrendering unto the demigods is not going to solve all of your problems. And in fact, there are certain things they just cannot do. They cannot do, like Varuna, for instance, he cannot part. Ram can do it. He can have stones written with his name. He can make it float. So he can do things, but they cannot do. They don't have that degree of competence. There are other instances. Sita Devi was harassed by certain Rakshasis. So there was one Trijatta, one particular Rakshasi who actually did some good things. She protected Sita Devi. So it was her way of helping. So which was later on taken by Sita Devi as a very great favor, which she considered to be, okay, Tridevata surrendered unto me. That's all. So this is the advantage of going through the internal potency. She will consider this as surrender, that's all. You know. At one time, in fact, Hanuman, he comes to Sita Devi after Lord Ram destroys everything. And then he says, should I go and kill all these Rakshasis who harassed you? And then Mother Sita, she says, Na kashid na aparadhyati. Everyone makes mistakes. There's no one who doesn't make a mistake. Leave them alone. So it is very much advantageous. That is the reason why we pray to Lord Krishna along with Srimati Radharani. Because there's always that fear, Everything is so legalistic, we don't know what's going to happen. Some motherly compassion saves you. Ultimately, it's mommy who saves you. So then another instruction, third instruction. Now you may surrender unto the Supreme Lord. You can surrender for various purposes. You can surrender unto Lord Krishna. Akama sarvakama va moksha kama udharadi. We all know. You can surrender for material benefit. You can surrender for just mere liberation and just to have a good time in the spiritual world. Or you can surrender unto the Lord in order to become qualified to serve the Supreme Lord exclusively with selfless affection. So it is this type of surrender, third type of surrender, that Valmiki is talking about, that he promotes. So the demigods, when they surrendered unto Lord Vishnu, at that time Lord Vishnu said, all right, so I'll make an arrangement, all of you have to take birth. All of them, they accepted. The demigods are first of all so beautiful and so prosperous, and they had to accept the bodies of monkeys to please Lord Vishnu. They accepted it. They accepted it. If we have to be put in a situation where we will lose our whatever little beauty we have permanently, we will think twice, thrice. But they simply didn't even care. Whatever. If it pleases Lord Vishnu, we'll accept anything. Any amount of embarrassment we will accept. Whatever it is. Similarly, Lakshmana, he surrenders unto Lord Ram because Ram does not actually want anyone to accompany him. Lakshmana had to surrender. He had to surrender. Bharata also, selfless. These are all examples of selfless surrender. Similarly, the residents of Dandakaranya, they also surrendered selflessly. Sugriva, Vibhishana, they also surrendered. It may look like Sugriva surrendered unto Ram just circumstantially. He wanted his kingdom and all that, but that was not true. At a certain point, it becomes very clear that Sugriva selflessly surrendered. He risks his whole life in order to fight with Ravana. And that happened spontaneously, without a second thought. He just saw Ravana from a distance. And he became so angry that Ravana had kidnapped Sita. Immediately jumped. Now, that was a very dangerous and risky activity. And Ramchandra later on chastised him very much. That, why you do things like this? Because he could have been just killed on the spot. And he did not want. He wanted Ram to kill Ravana. So he came back. And then Ram chastised him. But that spontaneous activity signifies that he was surrendering. He had surrendered unto Lord Ram selflessly. He did not really want anything back. Vibhishan also surrendered selflessly. He did not want anything back. He did not even expect that he would be appointed as the successor. Even that son of Indra, who had assumed the form of a crow, even he surrendered. He just simply wanted to make Lord Ram happy. So there are instances. Sri Valmiki brings out this point. Okay. Though there is no restriction regarding place, time, candidate, and the desired result in the process of surrender, there is a restriction regarding the object of surrender. And it is this process of surrender that is primarily established in this composition. So, in other words, Valmiki Ramayan clearly says you should surrender unto Lord Ram. Actually, the same analysis you can do for Bhagavatam also. Very easily you will find evidence. Why Krishna's glories in various incarnations is brought out so elaborately? It is simply to convince us he's fully competent. He's fully competent and he's fully compassionate. And you can also see canto after canto, those who surrender unto different forms of Lord Krishna, different incarnations, how they are all protected. So Valmiki Ramayana speaks with speaks only as a friend, and sometimes as a, it talks like a friend, or it talks that I said no. Prabhu Samhita, Prabhu Samhita, Mitra Samhita. The third type is called Kanta Samhita, talking like a chaste wife, just hinting. Friends at least suggest. A master talks directly. Okay. Valmiki Ramayana talks. It does not talk like a master, straightforward. That's one reason why, for every chapter of Valmiki Ramayana, I have given a quote from Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks directly. Srimad Bhagavatam uses all the three types. It uses all the three types. It sometimes talks directly, sometimes it suggests, sometimes it just hints. And the acharyas bring out all these things, and Prabhupada brings it out in the purport very explicitly. So the reason I added that Bhagavad Gita quote from Prabhupada's purport or the verse is because we are all used to the three types. We may not know it, but we are used to it. So when you read Valmiki Ramayana, it's only these two, and that other one is missing. So therefore, I added that. In order to describe Ram's supremely compassionate nature, the sage Valmiki describes how he separated Sita Devi from him in Canto 7. Okay, I have explained this. It is a basic principle that the common people do whatever the leaders do. It is another basic principle that only the intelligent can distinguish between following and imitating powerful leaders. It is described in Canto 7 of this great book that since some less intelligent people in Ram's kingdom misunderstood the mother of the universe, Sita, and began to take advantage of her life to indulge in sinful activities, the gravely thoughtful Ram, the very personification of Dharma, decided to sacrifice his association with his most beloved Sita for the sake of steering his citizens, who were like his sons and daughters, towards the right track of auspiciousness. That is a point brought out in the commentary above. Another point of consideration is that Sita Devi is more merciful than Ram, and as such, she would not have been able to tolerate the misconceptions and criticisms of her character by her own subjects, because Sita Devi also loved the citizens like her children. It should be noted that when Indra's son in the form of a crow bit her, she didn't even complain about it to Ram. And she forgave the Rakshasis who had tormented her and protected them from Hanuman's fury. Ram knew Sita's nature very well, and so protected her from having to hear such cruel words. That is why he banished, so-called banished, because he actually put her next to, he arranged for Lakshmana to put her next to Valmiki's ashram. He could have put her anywhere, no? He could have put her in the middle of some mountain somewhere. If he really did not like her, he would have just banished her anywhere. Intentionally, he places her next to Valmiki's ashram, knowing very well from Chitrakoot days that Valmiki is always thinking about how to serve Sita and Ram. By the arrangement of Lord Brahma and Narada, two pure devotees of Sita Ram, the entire Ramayana was then arranged to be composed by a neutral third party, Valmiki, an acknowledged authority absorbed in Samadhi, in order to enlighten the citizens of Ayodhya about the truth of Sita's character, and the project succeeded. Towards the end of the Ramayana, the citizens realized their error and wanted her to return. If you have a situation where your own children start doubting the chastity of your wife, then you have to do something by which you make them understand. That is the solution. So even if it requires that for time being you banish, so-called banish your wife, in order to help them understand, it's worth it. That's what Lord Ram did. Now surrender can be done by anyone, and the Supreme Lord is so kind that he behaves very intimately. There are several instances: Guha, Shabari, Sugriva, and others of low birth. Lord Ram, he protects everyone. This is the reason why he appears. Lesson number 4. This surrender requires a mediator who requests the Supreme Lord to bestow his mercy upon the surrendered soul and forgive his previous sins and offenses. Sita Devi is that mediator. For when Lakshmana surrendered unto Lord Ram, Sita was the mediator. When Vibhishana wanted to surrender unto Lord Ram, he did so through mediators. Ram also accepts Vibhishana through a mediator. And therefore, in our system also, we need to have spiritual masters, Diksha Guru, Shiksha Gurus, because they need to pray to the Supreme Lord. We are doing all these things just for that prayer. They pray unto the Supreme Lord, please have some mercy on this soul. Then things work out. Similarly, Sugriva surrendered unto Lord Ram through Hanuman. The nature of the candidate for this means to liberation is one of servitude and dependency. There are different aspects. Servitude refers to direct personal service. So surrender unto the Supreme Lord requires that you serve the Supreme Lord menially, and also you become dependent on him. These are technical expressions which I'll explain what it refers to. Servitude means direct service. Lakshmana directly serves Lord Ram. When Ram tells Lakshmana, you be here, you don't come, Lakshmana refuses. He says, no, I have to come. Later on, after he comes back, Ramchandra wants to appoint successors, and he asks Lakshmana, no, you accept it. Lakshmana refuses. Then he orders Bharata, and Bharata accepts. So Lakshmana signifies direct service unto the Supreme Lord, and when you surrender to Krishna, you're also expected to engage in direct service unto the Supreme Lord. Dependency refers to carrying out his orders. We have this expression, Vapu Seva, Vani Seva. Vapu Seva is direct service. Vani Seva is carrying out instructions. So when Lord Ramachandra orders Bharata, you go back and rule the kingdom on my behalf, he carries out those instructions. So from Lakshmana you can learn how to serve Lord Vishnu personally, which is one aspect of surrender. Because in surrender there are 6 items. One of that is do anything which is favorable to the Lord. One thing that is favorable to the Lord is full-fledged service, direct service. Like for instance, here also, we serve the deities, we do Mangalarti in front of them, we do all these things. Sometimes we have to be away from the deities, we go and preach. That is carrying out the instructions of the Supreme Lord. So Bharata demonstrates how to carry out his instructions. Then on top of it, so there are then 2 different types of devotees who are dear to the Supreme Lord. Those who are with him and who serve him. There are those who stay further away from him on his instruction and who serve him. 2 types of devotees. So then another important lesson is we have to follow in the footsteps of Shatrughna, who taught us that we should serve both these types of devotees also. That also the Lord wants. That is also favorable to him. So from Shatrughna we learn, Shatrughna always wanted to be with Bharata and serve him. Shatrughna demonstrates that. So in that way, when we know that the Lord appears to demonstrate dharma, dharmam tu sakshat bhavad pranitam. So when Lord Ram appears, he teaches that you need to carry out ordinary common duties, material common duties. You need to carry out the instruction of your father. If it is in line with the scriptures, you have to carry it out. No matter what was on his head when he gives that order, it doesn't matter. But you need to carry out that instruction because the instruction is coming from the scriptures. It's a common principle, ordinary. Sita Devi, what dharma does she teach? If a husband follows Vedic dharma properly, then you should simply surrender unto him. That's all. That's all. That's all. Because he'll be well protected, she'll be well protected, despite all kinds of crises. From Lakshmana, what do you learn? You learn that you should actually engage in Bhagavad Seva, serve Bhagavan personally. From Bharata, what you learn, you should carry out the instructions of Bhagavan, even if away. Vani Seva. From Shatrugna, what you learn, you need to serve these two types of devotees also. It's not enough that you serve Krishna. You have to serve Krishna. You have to serve those who stay next to Krishna and serve him. You have to serve those devotees of Krishna who stay away from Krishna to carry out his instructions. That dharma also has to be learned. Then on top of it, you need to have the right understanding. You cannot have wrong understandings. You need to have proper sambandha gyan. You need to understand what is the relationship between yourself and the Supreme Lord and this material world. You need to know the process of spiritual progress. You need to understand how you progress. What is the first step? What is the next step? Next step, next step, next step. What are the different obstacles that come at each stages? How do you get out of it? All of that you should have. Basically, you should have a clear blueprint of all of this. That is also one of the items that are favorable. In the 6 items, the first is do everything that's favorable to the Lord. So that is also one of the things favorable. All of that comes out in Valmiki Ramayana. You need to surrender unto the Supreme Lord helplessly and exclusively, which means there are certain persons who are not worth it. Don't waste your time in surrendering unto these persons. Don't surrender unto demigods. Don't simply surrender blindly unto one's father, one's mothers, and so on. From Dasharatha's life, we learn that it's not worth it. He's not samartha, he's not competent. Because he's affected by passion in his dealings with Kaikeyi. Similarly, Kaikeyi, she is a good example of a mother whom you cannot blindly and fully surrender. One should not fully surrender unto one's brothers, sons, and other dependents. Vibhishana, Indrajit, these episodes teach that. In order to become eligible to surrender unto the Supreme Lord properly, you require a bona fide Acharya. The bona fide Acharya is fully dedicated to the service of the Lord. Hanuman represents that. Hanuman fully serves. He's, everything about him is clearly a description of who is a bona fide Acharya. And then, when you surrender unto the Supreme Lord, you have to become patient until your body drops dead. We have in Bhagavatam also the same principle. Tattena kampam susamikshamana. Same principle is there. And this is conveyed through a description of how much Sita Devi was determined. She kept herself alive in Lanka, waiting for Lord Ram. He knew that he's going to come, he's going to destroy all these enemies. He has protected me so long, so he will continue to protect me. As long as we have a body, which means as long as we are alive inside a body, we should carry out our duties like Ram and those who follow Ram. And we should not carry out any duties or whatever like Ravana and those who follow Ravana. Only a place where the Supreme Lord is personally present is fit to be resided in by such a person. So therefore, the residents of Ayodhya, from their contact we can understand. When Ramchandra was banished, they also started walking. They did not want to be in Ayodhya without Ram. So from that we understand we need to be with the Lord. We need to be with the Lord. It is very, very important. These are all important things. We should not think that we are so great, so exalted, that we can remember in our mind, in our hearts and all that. We need to be in the Dham as much as possible. That is why Prabhupada himself opened so many temples and all that. These are all some kind of Dham extensions. Very, very important. One should pass his time in studying the Ramayana. The Ramayana, it actually describes the meaning of the mantras that teach us how to surrender unto him. So that is very important. Then lesson 15. The Ramayana is like the Gayatri Mantra. Actually, there are 24,000 verses, and every 24,000 verses, you will find one syllable of the Gayatri Mantra coming. Bhagavatam is an explanation of the Gayatri Mantra. The Ramayana is also an explanation of the Gayatri Mantra, which is very, very important amongst those who have come to the Brahmanical platform. They've come to the mode of goodness. Just as Gayatri is important to sustain your spiritual life, similarly, it is with the Ramayana. A person who surrenders unto the Supreme Lord and his teachings, he should not even touch the teachings which are opposed to surrender unto the Lord. For instance, Charvaka. Charvaka philosophy is a philosophy that you should simply enjoy. That's all, plain and simple. Just enjoy. There's no next life, no nothing. Just enjoy. That's all. Finished. Buddhism. There is no soul. There is no soul, no God. Shunyavad. So now there's in Valmiki Raman, you'll come across Jabali, one sage. He presents all of these arguments to Ram. Talks like a Charvaka. One full chapter talks like a Charvaka. And Ramachandra completely becomes so angry and chastises him. Lakshmana also sometimes talks like that. And Ramachandra chastises him. So now why these incidents Valmiki brought in? That is to teach us that we should not believe in all these bogus philosophies. Then here is lesson 17. Even great souls encounter calamities. Therefore, because these calamities are there, one should develop the desire to get out of material existence. Don't try to keep on solving these problems. We solve these problems, but ultimately get the hell out of this place. Because even if you're a great soul, there will always be something going wrong. In order to help the reader accumulate the prosperity of renunciation and detachment, Ramayana explicitly describes Rama and Lakshmana being bound by Indrajit's Nagapasha nose, Hanuman being bound by the Brahmastra weapon, the kidnapping of Sita, Ram's loss of his kingdom just before he is to be coronated as Dasharatha's heir apparent, and so on. Everywhere there is a climax. It's just coming. Ram is just going to get his kingdom. And suddenly, enter Manthara. Creates a gigantic mess. Within a few hours, everything is lost. From the highest position to the lowest position. Or like in the forest, everything is going on very well. Last year, if that is over, then back to Ayodhya. Last year, suddenly enter Shurpanakha. Hanuman, he's gone to Lanka. He met Sita Devi, starts ransacking that forest. Everything, he destroys Akshay Kumar. There is a big thing. Suddenly enter Indrajit. In that way, you'll find. So the basic idea is that there'll always be something going wrong, no matter how great you are. Intentionally, Lord Ram has arranged these pastimes to teach us that. Now, don't think that just because, I left everything, I surrendered unto Krishna fully, and then I have to go through all these crises. How can I'm so great? I don't want to say it, but in square brackets, it's understood. It's understood actually, but even I, is the ultimate Me Too hashtag. So then, no, but we have to understand these are intentionally provided to propel us to go forward. Don't just drive at good speed, accelerate at good speed. So therefore, that is that. Then the 18th lesson is just all aspects of Vedic culture. You'll find different arts that I mentions and indications about the importance of all these things, different aspects. That's just because the Ramayana is a gigantic encyclopedia of Vedic culture, so you'll find it. So this, if you study Valmiki Ramayana properly, you get a good sense of all of this. So many things you learn. Very, very interesting. Without a proper parampara explanation, you'll never have imagined all these things. For instance, the very fact that Ramayana is actually a great biography of Sita, Sitaya's Charitam Mahat. These are things, okay, it occurs. One place Valmiki says it, but we don't understand why he's saying it. Why he's saying it. That is the reason why Ram is very eager to hear Ramayana from Lavakusha. Ram's character. There are 4 types of personalities. This comes in Nectar of Devotion also. There's one type who is very humble, very soft, very gentle. Ram is the ideal in that type. Dhirodatta. Yudhishthir is another type. He's also another example. These are all very humble persons. They don't like to glorify themselves. They don't like to hear glories about themselves also. So then why Ram so eager to hear Ramayana? He brings Lavakusha, calls everyone and says, let's all listen to this. Why? Because it's actually about Sita. So that everyone understands that she is very, very chaste. Okay, 9 o'clock. What am I supposed to do? Are we having Prabhupada Guru Puja?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's take few questions, but 9:15 then we'll have Prabhupada Guru Puja. Don't curse me. I know it's Dwadashi. Whatever. If you feel like, ask. Otherwise, I'm hanging around till Tuesday. You can shoot questions later on also.
So in the section 5, there was a teaching that you have to serve the Lord directly.
Yeah.
And Lakshmana was exhibiting that.
Yes.
So my question is, what is direct service? Because
Shravanam, we directly chant Krishna's name. No? Hare Krishna we chant. But we don't say Jai Prabhupada, Jai Gurudev, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Gurudev. We don't have a mantra like that. Chant Krishna's name, chant Krishna directly. Manmanabho Madbhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. We worship the deity, that's direct.
if you are serving a devotee who's serving the...
That also Krishna wants. That is why in Ramayana, that also he wants. So from Lakshmana we learn that we must serve the Supreme Lord directly. Like deity service and all is direct, temple service is not direct, we clean the floor. This is all direct. Okay. That's not enough. That's necessary but not sufficient. In addition to it, we should also carry out the Lord's instructions from a distance, in case the situation demands that we have to be away from the Lord. That also we should do. That. Then on top of it, we should serve those who are doing these 2 types of services. So all the 3 are required.
Hare Krishna Mahoday, thank you so much for the. So you said that one should surrender, so while surrendering, so Lord is a protector then, and you mentioned this. Lord is a protector, and you have to surrender to Him, and ultimately protect us. So that surrenderance will not come only by day-to-day work.
Sorry?
So how to surrender in day-to-day works? So we depend on our own strength rather than God is.
No, he's the one who's protecting us.
Okay. So we depend on our strength only. So how to make a point that God is the protector? How to practically?
How do you realize that he's protecting? As you surrender, Krishna reveals himself more and more. Surrender means that you agree. You go before the deities and you say, whatever you like, I will do. Whatever you don't like, I will not do. The first 2 items. And I know that if I do this much, you will protect me. I believe in you. You will protect me your way. I don't know what that your way is. Or whatever it is, I believe it is good. I believe it is good. That you have to officially pray. So 4 items are done. This kind of surrender, this you don't do to anyone else other than Krishna. Okay? And in the meanwhile, don't try to play smart and no, but I know an exception clause. Nothing. That's it. Leave it. Krishna knows best. So we understand, through experience we understand Sharanagati. But the moment you understand it, You become, first thing is you become filled with so much of relief. Suddenly you become filled with relief. Oh my God, what a great relief. I don't have to worry about myself. There's somebody else worrying about me. It's like, if a boy just recognizes that he's actually the son of a multi-billionaire who has been trying to somehow discover who his son was and trace him back. How relieved he'll be. I don't need to go for work. It's all there. Everything is there. Everything is there. Bang, it's over. Everything is there. Everything is there. You don't have to think about, you don't have to think. It's all already preordained. You have servants. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think, can I get one iPhone? What iPhone? Take. The father will buy a shop of iPhones for you. Yeah, take it, yeah, big deal. So when we realize that, we belong to Krishna and we are Krishna's own children, suddenly actually it's a fact. At one time in Mayapur, when I understood it, suddenly I realized, my God, I don't need to be in anxiety at all. So like that eureka moment when it comes, when you serve the spiritual master and devotees, somehow you please them, somehow you please Krishna. Do it. Let me say, you have to please Krishna ultimately. You cannot just blindly do whatever somebody says. You have to ultimately please Krishna. Unknowingly maybe, but somehow you're pleased. And he gives you that realization that I'm there. Such a relief, I'm telling you. Such a relief, such a relief, such a relief. You're taken care of. No more anxiety, no more anxiety. There is a songbook known as Sharanagati, given by Bhaktivinoda. It's been translated. You'll find it online. You'll also find printed copies. If you examine it, you'll have a good understanding about all the different items of surrender. More than 50 prayers. Very, very important. Very important. Occasionally, you can read it. You'll get some good understanding. And ultimately, we can pray to Krishna. Please help me understand. Anything else? Yes.
So you told that Sugriva has genuine surrender. So from one activity, do we conclude that his surrender was genuine? That he spontaneously attacked Ravana?
No, you have to see after that point also all the things that he did.
Like one activity I knew is that when Bali was fighting inside cave, so instead of Angad becoming the king, he became the king.
Angad was too small also. He was not fit for it. He was not capable. That's why Rama actually, he said Angada should be the crown prince and Sugriva should be placed. It all comes. There's a whole chapter. Vali accuses Ram. He says, how dare you shoot from behind? And then Ramachandra, he gives a proper and a logical analysis. And see, what I did was fully dharmic. Fully dharmic. This is what exactly you deserve. Vali is also a very learned soul. And Vali accepts it is correct. Tara also accepts that Ram is correct and Vali was wrong. After it was, Sugriva was a work in progress. At a certain point, he became fully selfless. Initially, it started off with just protection. But after some time, then when Lakshmana goes and chastises, then Hanuman goes and instructs him. Then afterwards, gradually, it comes to a certain point. That's why Sanatana Goswami also comes to the conclusion that Sugriva eventually became a pure devotee of the Lord. That is why he was one of the persons who went with Ram to Sarayu and then went to Vaikuntha. So if he was not disqualified, then Lord Ram would not have arranged for Sugriva to be in that. So I've done a lot of analysis on all this. Anything else? Okay.
Last question. So we see in many places that surrenderance to Vishnu is topmost and bhakti to Vishnu is topmost. But we see that Vishnu is like expansion of Krishna only. So
by Vishnu we refer to Krishna in all of his plenary portions. Sometimes the word Vishnu refers to 14 four-handed Narayana in Vaikuntha, but sometimes Vishnu refers to any form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now, whenever I was saying Vishnu, I was actually talking about Vishnu Tattva. In ISKCON, we refer to all the different plenary expansions of Krishna, unlimited expansions of Krishna as Vishnu Tattva. So it's only Vishnu Tattva. It's not actually Lord Narayana alone. I thought there was one other question. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, and, Prabhu, I want to understand that you said the permanent surrender. So one should surrender permanently. So also in Lord Ram says the even once one says only the I am now surrendered, so he gives his food. So how to understand with this statement? How to understand, like how to take up these two? Well, obviously permanent surrender will be there, but put some light to it.
Rama is very kind that even if you say Sakradeva Prapanna, even if you surrender only once, then I will take care. Meaning that I will not forget this word. You may forget, but I will not forget. But surrender is actually done for our own benefit. Krishna does not actually benefit from that. It's for our benefit. So sometimes unknowingly, in some very critical situation, we may actually go and pray to the deities that my Lord, please make me come to the. So many instances of devotees. They say, please make me come to this point of full surrender. And then after 6 months, he loses everything in life, and because you ask for it. You ask for it. He doesn't forget. He doesn't forget. So then some other devotees are more careful in their prayers. More careful. I say so many things, but don't take it too literally, please. Then Krishna will really not take it literally. That's the other problem. And when you're in real trouble and you ask also, Krishna will keep asking, so what? What is it? What is it? What is it? Do you really want it? Partially really want it? No, what do you want? So ultimately, it's just that the reciprocation between us and the Supreme Lord. That's all. Everything else is just via media. But Krishna is very kind. He will not forget. He will not forget. Okay, we'll stop with that. Panchakalpaturubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaः.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful Ramayan. Many wonderful lessons to be learned from Ramayan. So let's thank Prabhuji by on time chanting.